All right, you should have already written in your table of contents absolute value and adding integers. So if you hadn't written this page yet, go ahead and pause it right now and get that written. All right, so adding integers. I want to tell you the way that I think of adding integers is like adding ingredients into a bowl. Okay, or comparing apples and oranges. Like if apples were positives and oranges were negatives. So I'm just going to show you real quick what that means to me. So let's say, you know what? I'll even use colors. So here's an apple, an apple, an apple, and an apple. Okay, and let's say that these apples are negatives. Okay, and now let's get some oranges up in here. Up in here, up in here. There's an orange, and there's an orange. Okay? And let's say these oranges are positive. Okay? So to me, it's like, well, what do I have more of? I have more apples, right? Well, how many more apples do I have? I have one more apple. So that means I have one more negative. So if we were to combine these 4 negatives and 3 positives, then you have one more negative. You have one more apple. Okay? You just added integers. So that is negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Okay? These are called zero pairs, which we'll write probably again this week. This right here is a zero pair. I wonder why. Because this is negative 3. And that's positive 3. And they just cancel each other out. Okay? So there's some rules too, which you probably know from last year. So up on top, if you're adding, if they have the same sign, you just keep the same sign. Okay? You keep that sign. It's like this down here. If we had, I think I have oranges already. Let's go back to the apples there. So let's do this problem. So it's same sign, keep the sign, and just add the absolute values. So these were negatives. Okay, so we have 5 negative apples. We had 3, and we got 2 more. So now we have 5 of them. So that's, let me write it here. That's negative 3 apples, and that's negative 2 apples. Well, how many do we have now? We have a total of negative 5 apples. Okay, and then if they are different signs, like the one that we just did down below, whichever one has the biggest absolute value, whichever is the one furthest from 0, like we did on the page before, that's going to be the sign. I feel like I need a recording in progress sign on my door over there because I've gotten interrupted twice. Alright, so different signs. Okay, we can also use a number line. Okay, and the first value in the addition sentence tells you where to start. Okay, we can use a number line. So right here, negative 2. You can see it kind of written right there. I drew one up on top too so we could use that. We're going to do this negative 2 plus a negative 3. Okay, if you don't like the whole negative and positive combination on the bottom, you can use a number line. Or you can use the rules, right? Same sign, add them up, keep the sign. But I really like number lines, especially since in most of your classrooms there's probably one directly underneath the board there. Okay, so it really helps to just look at those and just kind of combine things and hop from number to number to number. Okay, whatever you can use it. There's no need not to, no reason not to. All right, so we have negative 2 plus a negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find negative 2. Which is right there. And we are adding more negatives to it. So if you think of a bowl of ingredients, inside of that bowl, I'm going to draw it up here, inside of that bowl we have 2 negatives already, okay? And the add sign means to combine, put more on top of, or to include more. Sorry about that. There we go. So if you think of a bowl, we have 2 negatives in there already. We're going to combine 3 more negatives with it. 1, 2, 3. So now how many negatives do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And on a number line, we start at -2 because that's the beginning of the addition sentence. We combine more negatives, negatives going to the left. 1, 2, 3, and it's -5. Okay? -5. Now what you see right here, it's the same thing. We just started at -2 instead of starting at 0 and drawing that little line. Okay? Let's go to the next example. A +4 and a -2. So we're combining. So we would start, I'm going to do it up top because I have more space. We would start at a +4. +4 right there. And if you think about the bowl, I'm going to erase this one up here. I like to do it both ways, just hopefully that helps. If you think about the bowl, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 positives, and then I'm going to combine 2 negatives in there. I'm going to use a different color just for fun. A negative and a negative. Okay, so and if we go, so what's the 0 pair? We talked about it on the bottom. We can find a pair of numbers inside of this bowl, this combination, that cancel each other out to 0. So what has the exact same distance from 0? These 2 and those 2. What's left? Okay, what is left? There's 2 positives left. 2 positives left. I'll go back to the number line. Sorry about that. 2 positives left. Right here we started at 4, and we have to go in a negative direction because that's what negative means. Anytime there's a minus, it means change direction. 1, 2, and we end up with a +2. Okay. I'm not going to use the number line on the next on these next 3. All right. So example 3. I'm going to use 0 pairs. Okay, I'm going to use negatives and positives, just like I did on the bottom with apples and oranges. Alright, so how many negatives do we have? We have 2 of them. And how many positives? We have 3. I'm going to stack them up just like this. This right here, besides kind of looking like somebody that got punched in the face. And that's their eyebrows and stuff. Anyway, what are we left with on the outside of that 0 pair? 1 positive. So the answer would be 1. Okay. Absolute value way to do this, which if you can understand absolute value, you will get it in a heartbeat. Okay. It will help you with adding and subtracting integers so much if you understand absolute value. So let's look at these. What do I have more of? Okay. That's absolute value means just focus on the number, right? What do I have more of? I have more 6s, right? How many more do I have? How many more negatives do I have than positives? I got 6 negatives and 1 positive. So what's the difference there? It's 5, right? But here's what you do. If you can follow that and say, what do I have more of? Do I have more? I keep wanting to point at my screen, but it doesn't work. Do I have more negatives or more positives? You already know. I have more negatives. That means my answer is going to be negative. How many more negatives do I have? 6 and 1. What's the difference? 5. -5. Let's go right here. If you're a rule person, Up top it says different signs. You can subtract, and oh sorry, those are the same signs, my bad. Same sign, add and keep the sign. Okay. -7 plus a -4. Unfortunately, this would be like if you borrowed $7 and you didn't pay somebody back, and then you borrowed $4 more from that same person. How much would you owe them now? You owe them more than you should owe them. Okay, so they're both negatives. We're just combining more and more negatives. Always try to think of that adding thing as just combining ingredients, combining things into a bowl, and then figuring out what you have more of. Okay. Well, in this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives, and we're going to combine that with 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. So some of you may look at that and think, oh, that's a zero pair. Well, no, it's not. It's not a zero pair. Why? Because they're not opposites. They're just a whole bunch of negatives, right? So 7 negatives and 4 negatives is 11 negatives. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this one now, and the next video is going to have help on your assignment, both of them, an absolute value assignment and a adding integers assignment.